Hi, I'm Rick Brimacombe, founder of Club E. Welcome to today's video. Enjoy.
Um, so there's a lot of Venn diagram going on up here between benefits, the employee model, and culture, as I'm going to talk about. And so this all fits together. And I'll be the first to say that I want to be really clear that I would not claim that Irish Titan has nailed culture, right? Because culture really, my definition of it is sort of that informal way that people know this is how we do things around here, and that's very people driven. And as we all know, people are people, right? And so I got my MBA at St. Thomas and do a lot of mentoring and just one-on-one meetings with people that get referred over. And I was meeting with a young lady who's getting her MBA, and she asked, "What's been the best and worst part of your job?" And I said, I'll reframe the question to what's been the best and most challenging part of my job. And I can use one word to answer both of those: people. Because people are what gives me energy. It's one of the reasons we have an employee only, a Titan only model, as we like to say. But no matter how confident you are in your hire, and how they might be performing or how you might be trying to lead or manage them, people are people. And sometimes there are things that get in the way of their performance, and they don't perform the way you thought they would, or you don't lead and manage them the way you thought you were capable of, etc. And all of that starts to tie into culture. So I just want to quickly throw out there that I'll talk through our experiences and my philosophies and that sort of thing, but by no means am I proclaiming that we've cracked that nut. I think from a culture perspective, it comes down to a few things that you really need to keep in mind. And some of it's self-evident, but I think it's really important. First, you have to define your culture, which again sounds really obvious, but you have to do that, and you have to do that in a way that is distilled down to easily understood concepts. And I'll talk through how we've done this at Irish Titan. And then there are three pillars to how you really make that work. One, you have to have traditions. Two, you have to be consistent. And three, you have to institutionalize it. So at Irish Titan, I'm a big fan of Guy Kawasaki, who wrote a book called The Art of the Start. And part of what he talks about in that book is don't worry too much about defining your brand and your culture until you have built a product or a service that you're actually selling, and you have some experience with what people are telling you, what's working and what's not. So after a few years of Irish Titan, things were starting to ramp up. That's when I started to take a step back and give some thought as to how I would define our culture. And luckily enough, I was part of a small group meeting with Simon Sinek, who wrote a book called Start With Why, that I am a giant fan of. If I were dramatic enough to say it changed my life, I would say it changed my life. And I had probably 10 or 15 minutes alone with him in a group of 20 over drinks after a speaking event where picked his brain. And so our why, our golden circle, so for those of you not familiar with Simon Sinek, I know a lot of people are, the heart of his Start With Why model is what's called a golden circle. And it's like a bullseye. So there is like a target bullseye. The middle is why, the second ring is how, and the outer ring is what. At that point, we had already trademarked this concept of business first, online second. It was trademarked. It was what I would use as an answer when people would ask me, well, there are a lot of digital agencies. How are you guys really any different? And so I'd say, well, at the end of the day, what makes us different is this notion of business first, online second. Then in our sales materials, we talked about engaging with our clients in a partnerships, not transactions kind of way. And then my elevator speech that we're all taught to have handy was that we, at that time, it was e-commerce and complex websites. That's what we said we did back then. So that's evolved over time. Part of the Start With Why model is that your what can evolve over time as long as your why and your how are solid. Okay? So the two legs of our culture that we talk about are our golden circle and then our 5 values, which I came up with probably 10-ish years ago, maybe not quite, when I was taking this time to reflect on how I would define our culture. And our 5 values are POTUS, which stands for passion, ownership, teamwork, impact, and skills. And then we have a tagline for each of those. So for example, passion is on fire from the inside. So the two pillars, or the two ways we define our culture is our golden circle and POTUS. And we expect all of our Titans to demonstrate those in their own authentic way every day, right? And some of those are more external client facing and some are more internal. But that's what we expect of everybody. Now, when I talk to candidates, potential Titans, because I still interview towards the end of the process, everybody who's possibly going to join our family, one of the things I talk about is there's an unofficial third leg to our stool, and that is that we are a no snowflake kind of place. And one of the reasons I talk about that is that we really are a kind of no snowflake place. But what that means is that there has to be a culture of respect and acceptance. But if someone's easily offended, we're just not the place for them, because sometimes I'm the one accidentally doing it. I grew up on a farm, and sometimes I swear more than I should. And so all of this is couched in respect, though, and I've had to make pretty snap decisions on people's tenure at Irish Titan when they've acted in ways that are disrespectful. And I do that without much hesitation. But if someone can't give and take a joke within reason, right, we're not the right kind of place for them. So I talk about that in the interview process. So our official culture pillars are Golden Circle and POTUS, with an unspoken, unofficial, no snowflake kind of policy. Then from a traditions, consistency, and institutionalizing it perspective, we've done a lot of things to try to ingrain that culture into our daily DNA. From a traditions perspective, when we have new Titans, we do a monthly company meeting, kind of an EOS best practice. All new Titans have to perform their high school fight song for everybody. And a lot of people don't know it, which is totally fine, and then they pick a different song, and it's become quite a thing. If you go to our Facebook page or YouTube, you'll see everybody's performances over the last few years. People rent costumes, we've had a ukulele, we've had a spoken word, Jon Snow, Irish interpretation of a high school fight song, and it's just a good way for people to become part of the family. At their 1-year anniversary, everybody gets an Irish Titan rugby with their name and their employee number on the back of it. We do a Titan of the quarter. We have a monthly, and they get their name on a plaque along with a keepsake little nugget that gets personalized for them. We do a monthly birthday lunch where all of the Titans who have a birthday that month get to pick what gets brought in. It seems like we have tacos frequently, which is great. It's one of my favorites, and wings yesterday. But that's another thing that we do. So there are traditions that help us maintain that sort of culture. We've institutionalized it with the interviewing process, and then our review process has both POTUS and Golden Circle baked into that process. So the forms and people's get it, want it, can do it sort of criteria, using traction speak, are based on those cultures. And then institutionalizing it, which maybe I'll get to this later, but there's a bit of a reference to James' mention of row, is as we've grown, we've needed to get more and more people comfortable helping to police that. So that if police /enforce /reinforce /encourage those sorts of behaviors, so that whether I or anybody else in the management team are there or not, these sorts of behaviors, this is the way we do things around here, happens. So you have to define it, and then the traditions, the consistency, and the institutionalization.